Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Board Work Session and Governance Workshop. Today's date is Wednesday, December 3rd. The time is 5:33 p.m. The meeting is being held at the Lancaster ISD Administration Board Auditorium at 422 South Center Avenue, Lancaster, Texas, 75146. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. I will now call roll and establish a quorum. Ms. Cortez? Present. Mr. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Nichols?
Present.
Ms. Morris?
Present.
Mr. Cluis?
Present.
Myself present. Currently absent is Mr. Smith.
No, he's on.
I'm virtual.
He's on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. So Mr. Smith is present. If you would please turn on your video. Mr. Smith, can you turn on your camera?
I'm trying. I'm not sure what's going on with it. Stand by.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, at this time, Dr. Pereira, do we have any citizen communications?
No, ma'am. Board President Hamilton, we do not have any at this time.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pereira. Okay, at this time, to the board and to the audience, we will make an adjustment on the agenda. At this time, we're going to move 7.2 to the beginning, and we'll also bring 10.2 to the beginning of this agenda, just in lieu of some time. So at this time, it is Lancaster ISD Facility Needs Timeline. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to call for Ms. Kimberly Simpson to present that to our board and our community. Ms. Simpson, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Good evening, President Hamilton, board members, and Dr. Pereira. We have been on a steady and intentional journey in Lancaster ISD to enhance our students' educational experience, and a major part of that work has centered on improving and strengthening our district facilities. As you may recall, the Capital Outlay Committee was formed to bring thoughtful recommendations to the board regarding capital outlay projects across the district. From the beginning, the goal has been to take a strategic and responsible approach to addressing facility needs while keeping student learning and financial stewardship at the forefront of every decision. Over the past few years, this committee has made several key recommendations to improve district facilities and address immediate priorities. Since our last meeting, district leadership has continued to review our facilities, assess emergency needs, and evaluate long-term capital priorities. Through those discussions, it has become increasingly clear that a bond program represents the most strategic pathway to address Lancaster ISD's larger and long-term facility needs. As we continue planning for the future, our team has been working diligently behind the scenes to assess, organize, and prepare the foundational information needed for a potential bond initiative. Tonight, I will walk you through our facility needs backwards planning timeline, which outlines the steps necessary to ensure that every phase leading up to a possible bond election is thoughtful, strategic, and aligned to the needs of our students and staff. Our goal is to ensure that you, as our governing board, have every piece of information needed to confidently consider calling for a bond election in February. We are intentionally structuring this timeline to maximize transparency, provide meaningful opportunities for stakeholder engagement, and support clear communication as we move toward the important decision. With the strategic approach, we are working on a compressed but efficient timeline with an emphasis on the board potentially calling for a bond election closer to the February deadline, which would allow district leadership to develop and finalize accurate information before communication begins. This ensures that transparency, consistency, and community confidence is at the forefront. So, thinking ahead, as you all have been updated within the last few months about the need for a bond program within Lancaster ISD, the target date for the board to vote to call the bond election would be February 11th. On this date, you will have the option to approve the final language, propositions, and order of election, and it would align with your already scheduled work session for that date as well. So 2 to 3 weeks before potentially making that call, our admin team would be focused on several things that would include final legal review, final ballot language, final tax impact, preparation of board agenda materials, and holding meetings with our superintendent and CFO. 4 to 6 weeks before that, we would be working on, our focus would be on public work sessions for final review, updated cost estimates, communication preparation, draft election order and notice, and updated tax modeling. About 2 months out, which is where we actually are right now, our focus has been on facility assessments from our facilities assessment firm, PBK, reviewing the final project scope, enrollment and demographic reviews, updating costs, long-range debt planning modeling with our finance team, and bond preparation training for the board and district leaders. During October and November, our preparation period included capital outlay committee meetings, input meetings during our board workshops and updates, procurement reviews, engineering evaluations, cost estimates, and cross-department planning. So we've been busy. And this slide visually summarizes our continued work that will occur to get us to the February date to potentially call for the bond election. Now, why all of this matters is because it shows our dedication to being accurate with our information, ensuring our legal compliance, strong communication, data-driven decision-making, and coming to our community with this information with confidence. As of today, we are on schedule. Departments are actively collaborating, PBK updates are ongoing, our financial models are in progress, and communications, we are preparing the material to go out eventually. So, important tentative dates that I do want you all to be aware of. In just a few minutes, during this actual work session, board, you are going to receive a bond preparation training. This same training will also be provided to our district leaders and to the Capital Outlay Committee to ensure that all stakeholders have consistent and valuable understanding of the process, because we know that it is a lot of information. Additionally, our cabinet is going to receive a final facilities assessment from PBK on December 15th, and the following day, December 16th, is when we're going to reconvene the Capital Outlay Committee, and they'll have this same training as well for bond preparation. So, in closing, we are moving with urgency. We are strategic, and we're moving with the purpose, and the purpose is to ensure that our students have the best educational experience in Lancaster ISD. So the backwards planning process ensures that Lancaster ISD is prepared and confident in the decision if you all potentially decide to call for a bond election. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we'll move to 10.2, bond preparation training with Region 10. And just to the board, you all saw a presentation within your board book. If you'll please disregard that because we're having the training in-house today. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you. We have a guest here with us today that will, Dr. Morgan will share that information with our board and our community. Ms. Morgan, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you for having me. I'm excited to join you all tonight just to talk a little bit more about the process of school bond elections. I spent 26 years on the education side of things and was with districts on many bond committees, and so got to know the process well, and that's what I now do is help people with elections. So as we get started, we're really going to cover 3 different things in this training, and congratulations, you get a training hour for being present tonight, so that's a good thing as well. The first topic is about the bond planning and campaign process. What does that timeline look like? The second is kind of the legislative effects that have affected bond decisions right now, and then also just some ethics related to bond elections. It's always good just to stop and know the whole process. Like Ms. Simpson was talking about, you want to kind of backward plan and you want to know what you're walking into. And so that's our goal tonight, is just to give you an overview of that process. Really, when you look at keys to success, you've got to plan, you've got to engage, and you've got to unite. And so when you talk about creating a plan, a lot of the things that you all have gotten started goes into that plan. A facilities assessment, a demographer report, looking at your enrollment, looking at your programs, looking at your needs. So really gathering that data is that first step, and then building your team. Also engaging stakeholders, listening to feedback. It's not easy to pass a bond election in Texas right now. And so you have to go in with your eyes wide open, knowing you have to not only share information, you've got to listen as well. And then you've got to unite. You've got to really unite to share the why and make sure you understand the functions of how you're going to go about what you recommend. And so we're going to go a little further into that. But we're gonna start with the timeline. When you look at really the process of calling a bond election involves two different phases. First of all, it's bond planning. That's kind of where you are right now. And then there's a bond campaign. So looking at just the bond planning part, you all have started with your capital outlay committee, assessing your facilities, getting information from your financial advisor, gathering a lot of those pieces of data. And so that's where you are right now. The goal being that there's a recommendation and there's more further conversation following that facilities assessment. You have to call legally by February 13th at 5 p.m. And so that work session on the 11th falls into that timeline. You then have 75 days to enter into a campaign season. So if we dive a little deeper just into the planning part, this is the data that you need to really go in and know, are we making a recommendation that makes sense based upon facts, based upon data? Your facilities assessment is in progress, and you will get that very soon. Your student enrollment, knowing what your demographics look like, what is the growth that could be coming, what are some campuses that maybe you may have aging population in certain neighborhoods. That's very important. What are your program needs? Are your career and tech programs growing? Do you have a need for additional facilities? Are there certain things you need at your elementary and middle schools that align with your curriculum needs? Your bond capacity comes from your financial advisor. And so you have to know, we have the ability to generate this amount of funds if we set the tax rate here. And so that's very important to know. And then your voter data. You don't want to go in and not understand how your voters turn out in May and November. And it's important to know how to educate, who to educate, and to be strategic in that part of the campaign. So after you gather data, or as you gather data, you have a team that walks alongside you. And so your financial advisor, BOK, has been providing information and updates. So that is a big part of your team. The bond capacity drives some of those conversations and what you really need. Your demographer, knowing what your population looks like as we know the birth rate has slowed a little bit. We know there's been some housing growth. We know there's been changes in costs of housing. So how does that affect Lancaster ISD is very important to know. An architect and election consultant, I know you've done an RFQ for an architect, you've engaged with one for facilities assessment. Will you use an election consultant, or will the architect act as that? That's a conversation you'll have as you move forward. A construction manager and how you will engage with them will be another conversation that you'll have as a board. You have to declare that through the process. And then you have that bond counsel that helps guide you on the legal tips of what you have to have on in your ballot language, how you can engage, how your superintendent can engage, and we're gonna get into that a little bit more. But what are the do's and don'ts? And so bond counsel is that legal assistance that guides you through the process. So all of those people are very important in working along with you in order to plan, and then in order through that campaign season as well. All the way until you design and open a new building. So gathering feedback is kind of a little bit where you are right now. You're assessing needs, you're reviewing financial data. Kind of your next step once you have that facilities assessment will be to prioritize potential projects. The goal being that you align around a recommendation. You may have more needs than you have funds. And so what are the priorities? What affects students? What affects teachers? What affects the classroom and your kids? And so the goal is that by that February 11th meeting, you have found some alignment around a recommendation. And I put the big arrow that stretches the whole thing. As you're having stakeholder conversations, as your outlay committee is meeting, as you have leadership and board conversations, you're refining that with the goal of finding that alignment. Because you have to know not only what do you need, but what can your community get behind and you get behind as well. And so that's what you want to come away with in a recommendation. Unfortunately, we have a few things that have come into play in the last year. So there's two big parts of legislative impact that are affecting districts in making a decision as far as when to go for a bond election and how much to consider. So first, as taxpayers, you're happy. Your homestead exemption went up. You're not taxed on as much of your property. As school backers and affiliates, you're not as happy about that. Because what's happened is if you have a $240,000 home, take away that $140,000 homestead exemption, you can only now collect taxes on that $100,000 that's remaining. So that has affected bond capacity for every district in Texas. And at this point, the state has not stepped up to provide anything to help compensate for the loss in bond capacity. So know that that is a big conversation that's going on right now. What is our bond capacity? How has it changed in a year? Because at this point, from here forward, that doesn't look like it's going to change. The other thing that has changed is the legislature decided to get very specific about how you go about setting your tax rate on the INS side, on the interest and seeking side. Historically, if you wanted to leave your tax rate a little higher than what you absolutely had to have to pay debt service, you could do that. And you could say, we're going to keep the same tax rate and we're going to accelerate our payments and we're gonna get ahead on our payments. Now you can still do that, but there's additional provisions that have to take place. At least 2/3 of the board has to get behind it. You have to post and tell the community that. So it adds another layer to a bond election, to a campaign, if you have kept your tax rate up and it exceeds what you had to pay on your debt service. And so that's Senate Bill 1453, that's just going into play. And so those are the two big pieces that are affecting decisions regarding bond elections and when you can go out for an election. So timing obviously is important. You get a recommendation in February, you all will have to make a decision. You have that order of election, you look at what the ballot language looks like. Should you decide to call for a bond, you enter into a campaign. And sometimes you have consultants that work with you on that, that help with some of the communications and supplement your district team. But for 75 days, you go into basically an election season, just like running for your seats on the board, just like anyone else does. So that campaign season, it's very important that you get to that unite piece. You share the why, the what, and the how. What specifically is that? The why, you want to have your capital outlay committee understand well, your cabinet, your board, your parents. Why are we having these conversations? Why are we requesting voter support? And building that why with your community is really what sparks good conversations and good questions. As you go into what, be sure you're very transparent in what's included and in the process you use to get there. What is the tax impact? What does it look like? Is there a calculator they can access? What is that tax impact for homeowners? And then the how is very important. How did you reach the decision? People really want to see the data. They want you to be very transparent in that. And how will it meet the needs of students, teachers, and community members? How is this going to affect life in Lancaster ISD for all of those that are affiliated? So that unite piece is very important, but you also have to know that the Texas Ethics Code comes into play. So between now and when you decide to call an election, you can talk about anything you'd like to talk about regarding a bond election, about what your needs are, all of those kinds of things. Should you decide to call for an election, the Texas Ethics Code comes into play. And what the law says, it says that you cannot, so if you look here, an officer or employee of a political subdivision may not spend or authorize the spending of public funds for political advertising. So anything that the school does has to be very factual. You cannot engage in your role as a board member. When you are in your official capacity, you can engage in advocating for or against a bond election or a bond measure. That's according to the ethics code. So you can't use funds to engage in any kind of advertising that violates the ethics code and the election code. You cannot use district resources, phones, computers, copiers, all of those, any of those things cannot happen. You can't purchase or authorize purchase of materials. And employees cannot use district time, materials, any of those kinds of things. And then for you, when you're in an official capacity, you can't engage in political advertising. However, the district can provide factual information. In your official capacity, you can provide official information. You can talk about project and costs, voting times, locations, growth rates, performance data, facilities and capacity, age and condition, tax rate effects. You can be very factual in all of that. The gray area comes when you say things like, this is the best thing for kids. Well, that's trying to sway a voter. And so that's when it gets a little bit sticky. What you have to remember though is you can talk about and support and come out and support a bond on your own time and with your own resources. And that is the biggest difference. All of you can, with the exception of Dr. Pereira, and that her roles are very different. She doesn't get to separate her role and her own time and resources because she's basically on call 24/7. So her roles are different, but as a board member, as a cabinet member, as an employee, on your own time and with your own resources, you can engage in supporting a bond election. So when you look at some of the campaigns that are successful, really the biggest piece is the voter education. What are the ways that you're getting the message out? How are you leveraging social media? It can be a support, it can be a headache, it can be all the things, but it's also an opportunity to educate. How do you use different parent meetings? How do you go into, my superintendent and I a few times would go into homes. We'd sit on a fireplace and we'd connect with an HDMI cord to a TV and we'd just talk about the why of the bond. And so you have to figure out how to go where people are and educate your voters. You have to respond to questions with transparency and with a consistent message. If one of you has one message and one of you has another and it conflicts, that creates some doubt. So you want a consistent message and you want to be sure you all talk about that. And you know what the why is, what the how is, what the what is. Like you want to be sure you just keep saying, you're a broken record saying the same thing. And you want to use data to encourage voter participation. I will say in the last few years, just the strategic approach to a bond election is very important, and knowing who votes and knowing who you need to talk to and making sure you're encouraging that voter participation often leads to success. So we've kind of talked through these things, creating a plan, engaging and listening, uniting and sharing your why and your how, and there are some different parameters around that, some different rules, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions and see if you have any other comments you'd like to add.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have.
Ms. Morris.
So thank you so much. That was very informative. A couple of things that I noted. So it would help us if you gave us that Senate Bill 1453. Mm-hmm. So the 75 days after February 13th mm-hmm. is our start date.
Yes.
Is our start date to campaign. Mm-hmm. And board members campaign can be campaign utilizing their own funds or donated funds from elsewhere mm-hmm. to campaign.
Yes, it
I
can.
wanted to be very clear. I wanted to understand very clear on those funds because I know how that can be tricky.
Yes, and one thing that does come into play that we often get a lot of questions about is social media. I'll say if you have a social media account that has trustee, labeled on there, then you probably need to share the district factual information on there. If you have a personal one and it's not something you use in your official capacity, then you could share some of the advocacy information. So you have to have a clear separation between own time, own resources, and your role in your official capacity.
So as a board member in a public meeting and the district administration and staff are invited to that district meeting, they can talk about the strategies, the outline, and the timeline.
As long as they keep it factual.
Away from the district.
Yes,
Coming
yes,
from, okay.
yes, yes.
All right, thank you. And then I have one more. The why is very important. So,
Yes.
but that why would come directly from our administration and our communication person to make sure that we have the materials, but they cannot print the materials out for us. We have to print them out.
So they can print and send and share factual information.
Okay.
You can have community members that choose to form a PAC or a political action committee, and they can run a separate campaign. So a lot of times a district will have like an internal campaign that is all of the facts, and then sometimes community members will engage in that political action committee.
Right. And so that will be utilized in talking to community members through the whole process.
Yes.
Using that material only that comes from the district. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate that. Very good presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. Very
Yes.
informative. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Have a good night. Okay, now we'll move on to our agenda. We'll return to the finance section. 4.1, discussion to accept the RFQ for architectural services for WEBO Health Clinic. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to call forward Dr. Matthews and Ms. Eleanor Hairston to present that information to our board and our community. Ladies, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Board President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Pereira. I am Dr. Matthews, and Ms. Eleanor Hairston is here. And we would like to present to you the RFQ for architectural services for the WEBO Health Clinic. So how our WEBO Health Clinic will support our students will be in various ways. So we intend to make sure that access to health care is provided for our students through on-site medical services, also wellness and preventive care, as well as behavioral and mental health, family and community engagement, and increased attendance. So in those areas, we will focus in each of those areas, make sure that our families and our students are provided the opportunity to receive all, to make sure we're maximizing their routine checkups and counseling services for themselves and family, creating engagement for our family members, and making sure that our students are present and able to be in attendance so that they can perform better academically.
The Purchasing Department issued the RFQ a couple of months ago. The request for approval, the board approval for the RFQ to ensure the compliance of the Texas Education Code 44.03 and Government Code 2254 to secure a qualified firm for planning, design, and construction support of the WEBO Clinic. The RFQ for the architect services will be facility planning, preparation of any construction documents, construction administration, engineers, and compliance with any codes and permitting from the city. Lancaster ISD would like to move forward with the WEBO Health Clinic to provide and expand the health and wellness for services for our students, families, and community. The professional architect services are required to support planning, design, and the construction administration. The WEBO Clinic will be located at 1105 West Ridge Avenue, which is the current Child Nutrition Building. We did have 13 firms that applied. These are the 13 firms.
So in terms of looking at budget considerations, the cost of using the architectural services was allocated in the budget in the grant that we received. So we have community partnership grant, which will allow us to establish the WEBO Health Clinic. And so in that grant, we did allocate funds for any architectural services or plans that were needed. So that would mean that there would be a zero cost to the district as it relates to the scope of services that we've said. So any facility planning and design, construction documents, construction administration, permits, those things will come from the grant. And we can entertain any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Just a statement to the administration. Thank you all so very much for seeking that out, where our community and our children can have that at no cost. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Jones?
You guys will get at some point. Have we identified a healthcare partner who will be occupying this facility?
We will be working with Foremost Healthcare.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you, ladies. Okay, we'll now move to teaching and learning. 5.1, discussion of targeted improvement plans for Lancaster Middle School and Pleasant Run Elementary for approval at the next board meeting, as requested by the Texas Education Agency. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to call forward Mrs. Reddick Ayala, and I think she will be joined by Mr. Moore and Ms. Mitchell.
Yes. Good evening, Board President Hamilton, distinguished board members, and Dr. Pereira. Like she stated, we're here to seek approval of TIP plans for LMS and PRE. One thing before I introduce these superstars behind me, just to let you know, TEA had not given very much guidance on our schools that were targeted or labeled for school improvement, but because we are always progress monitoring our schools, we took precautionary measures, and so we created our own targeted improvement plans. And so when TEA came at the end of October and said, hey, we want you guys to formally implement these plans and take them before your board to get approvals, we were already on it. So I would like to introduce to you our school improvement coordinators. We have Cassandra Lott Mitchell. She's the school improvement coordinator for K2. We also have Travis Moore. He's the school improvement coordinator for 6A. So I'm going to let them talk to you about their roles and what they do and how they're assisting with this school improvement, and then I'm going to field any questions that you have.
Hello to everyone, and thank you so much for having us here. Come on up. My partner in crime. So I'm really excited. I want to just start off with just really understanding that TEA target improvement plans required for PRE as well as Lancaster Middle School. So when the Texas Education Agent requires a targeted improvement plan to ensure schools identify the root cause around low performance, and with that we do a few things. We set measurable goals. We make sure that we're implementing those strategies that are going to improve student outcomes. It also creates accountability and support so campuses can stay on track, and ensures all students are succeeding. These plans must be approved by the school board, as you know tonight is one of our objectives. So I'll start with Pleasant Run Elementary School accountability rating. This is a visual I want to talk a little bit about. As you can see here, student achievement in 2024, we were at 58%, which gave us a rating of an F. If you look over, go down just a little bit further, where we have the relative performance, which is around, we're talking about specific subgroups. Sub-POPs, eco-disadvantage, we were at 59%, which also landed us an F rating in 2024. So that's our first year when they start to really look at what kind of improvements do we need to make. We're still very excited because even as we move into the 2025 school year, we did receive for student achievement, yet again, still making progress. 56%, sorry, I don't have my glasses on tonight. Is that a 50? Thank you, 56. Still an F rating there as well. So again, if you look at student progress, still looking at our subpopulation, how are we supporting those students in every one of those populations, SPED, EcoDisc, how are we meeting those needs of those students, and still we're at an F again. And so with that, at PRE, as I just stated, in 2024, we made, our rating was a 73. As we move into 2025, we were D-rated. As you saw in both of those indication, our student achievement both had an F rating. School progress remained strong at a C, 70% of those ratings. Closing the gap drop from a C to a D. That means ensuring that all of our students are meeting those grade level targets. Campus is now identified as a targeted support as of 2025. I'm grateful that, this is something that just those 3 goals we outlined. As a coordinator, some of the biggest things we continue to identify is how are we going to close those gaps. We know at PRE, most of the time, it's around who are those students and what are their needs, those individualized plans. And so when students achieve stays low, as you've seen, closing the gaps drops, it directly impacts accountability, which now requires a targeted improvement plan, doing something different to ensure our students are successful.
All right, good evening, President Hamilton, the board, Dr. Pereira. I am indeed excited to present to you the information for L.C. Robertson Lancaster Middle School. Yes, we are in school improvement, but all is not doom and gloom. School improvement goes in a 2-year cycle. As you can see, back in 2024, we were a 60 overall campus, all right? But if you look at last school year, that 60 overall rating went to a 68. That is very, very hard to do in 1 year. And the way the accountability rating works is 70% of your rating goes in domain 1, which is just straight school student achievement of students passing the passing the STAR test. If the students get approaches, you get 1 point. If they get meets, that's 2 points. Mastery is 3. All right, so that is domain 1. Domain 2 talks about your school and your comparison school data. That's how you rate schools that look like you. So what do they determine for that? They use a metrics that's dealing with STAR scores, also looking at the makeup of the school, low socioeconomic, also your mobility rate. So that's domain 2. So even that number has gone up. And then closing the achievement gap, which is, to me, the most important, is worth 30% of your score. That is because you can only work with students where they are, all right? And so that number went up significantly from a 60 to a 71, which is double-digit gains in 1 year, which is phenomenal work in 1 year. So overall, just what I was saying, this is going to be just an overall view of some of the triumphs that we've had in Lancaster Middle School in the last 2 years. And then we're progressing accordingly, and I'm very excited about the progress that Dr. Ruffin Brown and her team is doing over there. So a little bit about school improvement so you'll know how is that categorized. And we went back and forth, and we decided to go ahead and just put GWC up here. And he said, well, how does that relate? Because 2 years ago, I was not here, but GWC was ranked as an F campus. And if you well know, the phenomenal work of Ms. Wright and her team, they're a B-rated campus and one of the top schools in this area right now for all the work they've done. So it's really important to know that just because of schools and school improvement, that's not the end of the story, as my pastor would say, right? So therefore, the lowest form of school improvement is comprehensive support, and that's what GWC was just 2 years ago. So PRE is in the middle, targeted support, and then LMS, this is their first year, barely in school improvement, but I can tell you already, we're already working our way out of school improvement at LMS. And just because there's some of the structures that we've changed and some of the things that we're doing over there to succeed. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Board, any questions, comments?
Since I've been first, if anybody else have a question.
Dr. Pereira has something.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to, of course, thank the presenters, but also wanted to share with the board, and as a reminder, that I've been here. This is my 5th year. I think I'm starting my 5th year here. I've had an accountability system, a different one, almost every year we've been here. And I think if you take some of the outcomes that we've had over the last few years and you rank that, compare it to what was in 2018, 17, 19, you probably have all A and B campuses almost. But again, the accountability system keeps ratcheting up, and I'm not, please hear me when I say I'm not complaining or looking for an excuse, but what I'm sharing with you is that the goal keeps moving. And as you get closer, it moves again. And I'm all for higher levels of accountability, but goodness, give us an opportunity to get a groove and go forward. And I understand the state's mentality regarding it and reasoning, but I just wanted to make sure I keep you all aware that it's not that I have bad staff or have had bad staff. It's just things keep moving, and we're trying to get there. And if you recall, back in 23, 24, we didn't get what the accountability system would be until maybe about a month or two before the assessment was taken. So, but anyway, just wanted to make sure everybody just keep that in the back of your mind as you think about these things. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Perry. Ms. Morris?
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you. I was in a meeting all day, 8 hours, in another district larger than our district. Made me appreciate Lancaster even more. So thank you all again for all that you do, because 1 point make a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no
Mr.
problem.
Jones?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. Submitted them, but you know, it got pushed out a little later.
Okay.
And on the PRE and LMS, which grade levels are most impacted as far as putting us in these different rating levels as far as student achievement?
Looking at PRE, it would be 3rd grade math and 4th grade math, and then 5th grade science. I will say, kind of piggybacking on what Dr. Pereira said, if this is rock bottom, we're in a great place to rebound. We're talking 68 and a 69 overall. With those scores coming in so low at 3rd grade and 4th grade math, when you look at student growth from 3rd to 4th and 4th to 5th, we're poised to have a really great strike there if we're intentional with those students in accumulating points for growth. So anytime they're that low, the only way to go is up if you're intentional in touching those students. When we look at LMS, again, 7th grade math, 8th grade math, our algebra is always a bright spot at LMS. However, science and social studies, those were normally where we could count on, you know, when we look at that cumulative score, we could count on science and social studies. We weren't able to do that. And so we are monitoring. Dr. Barker asked that the specialists be housed at LMS. We've also increased our bandwidth as a district. Again, this was not a surprise. Anytime you're looking in data, if you're surprised, you're not looking at your data. Okay, so we increased our bandwidth. We added these school improvement coordinators. That was prior to TEA even saying that you needed to do an official plan. We also added 2 interventionists in the district, one just for K2, and then we also have an interventionist housed at LMS as well for 6-8. And so we're also just really, we know that programs don't move students, people do, so we're really investing in our teachers because we do have a disproportionate number of uncertified teachers at LMS, and so we have triaged them and we're touching them in a certain way to ensure that we see the student growth that we need.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's definitely important, the statement as far as people in our programs. I think the other question has been answered as far as no surprises. So when we look at the RIT scores for 1st grade and 2nd grade, how are we preparing ourselves for this 3rd grade for them next year and the year following?
So one big pivot that we made, we've always done vertical alignment teams at 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but this year we decided to loop 2nd grade into that vertical alignment as well. And so our 2nd grade teachers and our 3rd grade teachers, by content, they share PLCs, and so that we're able to really touch them as well. But that just goes back to your question of how we're touching and making sure that we don't see those gaps in the primer grades.
And my last question may have been answered. What interventions have been put in place to address campus assessment accountability, especially in student achievement and relative performance? I guess looking in that domain 2 more so than domain 1.
I can speak as just the reorganization at the middle school. We've tried something a little different this year that's kind of research-based. Of course, you have House Bill 1416, in which if a student fails a STAR test 2 years in a row, they must be touched outside of the regular class time. And I think the state law is 15 hours. All right, well, what we've done is we've taken all those students and we've actually put those students in a second math class or a second reading class, okay? So think about this, you get the 15 hours probably in the first 6 weeks. Those students stay in there pretty much the whole year, all right? So it serves as almost like an elective class because they're still going to their math or their reading class, but they also have this second class. The second thing that we've done, which is research-based, is there are actually 2 teachers per class in the intervention class. So whereas you will see a normal class with 20 to 25 students with a teacher in there, at the middle school there are 2 teachers in there, all right? And so therefore that kind of addresses the issue of having new teachers or teachers that are not certified or whatever. And so we're also giving those teachers training. We have a new teacher academy that meets at least once a month after school, and you'll be surprised, it's on their own time, but those teachers, they show up. And we're going over new strategies as well as our PLC process that we're meeting with them on every week as well. So there's a lot of training, and as Ms. Reddick Ayala explained, the tiering of our teachers, there is a severe coaching culture now at the middle school in which those teachers are getting touched at least once a week, sometimes some of them 2 or 3 times a week, in which they're sitting down with their evaluator and their supervisor and getting coached after doing the walkthrough and the processes.
Right. I guess lastly, I just want to affirm you guys for putting that in place. I know last board meeting we talked about Tier 1 instruction, so it appears you guys are definitely addressing that with the coaching measures and with the PLC. So thank you, and that concludes my questions and statements.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have comments, questions? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 5.2, discussion of blueprint, $25,000 donation for Move This World curriculum for approval at the next board meeting. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I will call up Dr. Matthews to present that information to our board and our community. Dr. Matthews, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Again, good evening, Board President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Pereira. Tonight, I'd like to come just to give you information about the acceptance of a donation for Blueprint for our SEL curriculum, Move This World, for you to consider approval at the board meeting on the 18th. Our Move This World SEL curriculum is currently being used with our students in pre-K through 4th grade. This SEL curriculum really utilizes videos to teach our students skills like emotional management, communication, and relationship building. We have used Move This World for the past 6 years, and with that, what we've seen is multiple usage. We've had lots of student engagement. Our students in pre-K4 had over 18,000 minutes of usage, and our teachers accessed the data more than 2,560 times. Our subscription that we have will include Tier 1, Tier 2, family resources, and we'll also be able to provide adult wellness activities for our staff that our principals can also use during their faculty meetings and that our teachers can use on their own. So if they are having SEL issues or if they need to reset, then there is a curriculum that they can use as well. Blueprint has provided a restricted donation of $25,000 for Lancaster ISD to be able to access and use Move This World for all of our students this year in grades pre-K through 5. So they will provide us with a payment by January 15th, and then Lancaster ISD would then turn around and pay Move This World by February 14th of 2026. Again, the cost of the curriculum to use Move This World for our pre-K through 4th grade students, the total cost is $40,762.50. But for the district, there is no cost because Blueprint provided us with a grant of $25,000, and then Move This World provided an in-kind donation of $15,762.50, which again leaves us with zero cost. And so our request will be that you'll accept the $25,000 restricted donation from Blueprint for Move This World SEL curriculum. And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments from the dais?
Madam President, just one comment. I want to thank you and whomever else was getting these grants. That frees up the budget tremendously for us to do and place funds in the appropriate places to address our student outcomes. So thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, did you have something?
Really, really quick, and thank you as well. I can't speak enough favorably about the fact that you guys are investing in us. What methodologies do you have for gauging effectiveness?
So with Move This World, one of the things that the curriculum itself does, it will track students. So the teachers actually utilize it and help facilitate the lessons. And so then it will track our students in terms of the amount of usage that they've done. There's also opportunities for it to look at, there's specific lessons where if a student is having, or the class is having an issue, let's just say with self-regulation, and the teacher has to go back in, then they can actually track how many times, and then whether or not the students needed it again, and if there was any movement for that. So it does really look at usage, and it tracks how long and how many and how often our students are utilizing it. So because it's not individually our students accessing that curriculum, it's more of teacher-led, then it tracks our usage through our teachers and what they're actually using. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to 5.3, discussion of acceptance of support, social and emotional learning SEL therapy Dog Roux for approval at the next board meeting. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, Dr. Matthews is popular tonight. Dr. Matthews will present that information to our board and our community, and the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
All right, thank you again. Thank you again, Dr. Pereira. Board President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Pereira, tonight I'd like to introduce to you an addition to our SEL Dogs, Roux. And as you can see, this is Roux. You guys did get an opportunity to see him at the last board meeting. Roux is in class. He's in night school right now, so he's in class, so he couldn't join us tonight. And so again, this is Roux. As you can see, Roux is a big hit. He is the only male SEL dog. We do have female dogs, but he is the only male. He is a fluffy Frenchie, and you see Roux is a big hit with our students. He's a big hit with our staff. Our students interact with him, and he's a big hit with MISO as well. So the benefits of SEL dogs in schools, really there are three major benefits that we know that our SEL dogs bring to classrooms. Stress reduction is one, and this is not only for students, but this is also for staff. So stress reduction, improved attendance, and emotional support. So when we talk about improved attendance, what we found is that many of the students will come to school when they know that the dog will be there and that they'll have an opportunity to participate and interact. And so they will come specifically for that. In addition to that, they can provide emotional support if there's a crisis or if they're just having a bad day. We know that the dogs actually will comfort. They tend to, they'll turn their head, they look at you just to show that they understand. They can bring a smile to your face. And they've shown to lower stress. So if there's testing anxiety, sometimes we know that stress, the dogs will help remove and lower that stress as well. So how Roux supports students' well-being, anxiety and stress management. As I mentioned, during times of stress and anxiety, they provide a calming and comforting presence, as well as social emotional learning. So the dogs help the students with developing empathy, communication, and self-regulation skills, and then motivational support. So teachers can use them as a way of motivating students to meet outcomes or goals, so that they can be able to interact with the social emotional dog. So responsibility and care for the SEL dogs. So the reason why I'm on this picture is because I serve as Roux's host. So I'm his dedicated host, and typically I would be at training with him, but we have some other handlers that are with him tonight. So he has a dedicated host that takes care of him outside of school, and then he has handlers that takes care of him during school. Veterinary support, so making sure that they are of good health and that they are able to be groomed and taken care of medically. and then calm environment. So on each campus, if the dogs are visiting, they do have a designated quiet space. So if they need to regroup, if it's too loud with the students, or if the moving through the hallways is too much, we can take them into those designated spaces and allow them to calm. And then ongoing training, just like tonight, he's in training. So our dogs actually receive 24 weeks of beginning, intermediate, and advanced training, and then an additional 6 weeks of the therapy dog training before they will actually be listed as a therapy dog through the AKC. So all of our dogs are going through that process. They haven't all been identified just yet because they still have. We have 2 that are at advanced, 2 in intermediate, and so Roux is in intermediate now. He just finished beginning. And so in terms of budget costs, there's no initial cost to the district, so we've had, Roux was a donation. And in terms of ongoing expenses, we have identified expenses for veterinary care, for food and supplies and training, and he falls into that. That's already been identified and budgeted for. In terms of staffing, the host, again, I am Roux's host, and then we have secondary handlers on the campuses. And then in terms of facility needs, we just have to designate a spot for rest. And so all of our principals and campuses that allow the dogs to come on board have identified a place for the dogs. And so really his impact, so that you'll know, he began to be socialized when he was age 3 months. He's about 5 months old now. He currently sees about 800 students per week. We have what's called positive pause. And basically, it's just a quick brain break where we can go in. He's able to walk through about 2 to 4 classrooms, allows the students to gently pet him. Within a 10-minute period, he can go through a whole room. They get to hug, love on him, pet him, and then he comes out and goes into the next room. And so we just move from room to room. They take a short mental break, and that gives them time to reset. And then after they've had a chance to play with the puppy, then they get to go back and go back to work and get themselves back on task. And so it's been very effective. And even when we went to Rolling Hills when we went the week before the break, the principal said, you know, Roux, I need a mental break myself before you go into class. So he was able to help the principal out there. And so that's really his impact, is that we impact students anywhere from 300 students to 800 students on a weekly basis. The dogs are able to interact with them. And so I welcome any questions or concerns you may have about the addition of Roux to our SEL dog program, and I'm excited to introduce Roux to more of our students and look forward to the positive impact that he will continue to have on our school community. So if there are any questions, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Madam President.
Okay. Mr. Smith.
Surely there's a story behind this dog's name. Is his last name Gumbo?
Madam President, I may answer that? Dr.
Yes.
Please do, please do.
They all have Bayou, Roux, Gumbo. They have Louisiana tag names to kind of the history there. I'm not sure who thought of those names. It was probably someone with a great mind.
Thank you.
Right, any other questions? Right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're moving to human resources. Discussion of revision to TASB policy update 126, local policies for board action to approve the adoption of revisions to the TASB policy update 126 local at the next board meeting. There are several. The recommendations are going to be for BE, BED, CJ, CJA, CLE, CQB, CQD, CSA, CV, DBD, DEC, DFBB, DGBA, DHEEP, EFA, EHBAF, EIA, FA, FEF, FFAC, FFB, FFF, FFG, Student Welfare, FNG, FO Student Discipline, GF, GKA. And Dr. Gray, you're up for a task, because I only read the abbreviations. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. That was some alphabet soup, and to present it to us, some good stuff will be Dr. Gray. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, Board President, Superintendent, Board of Trustees. I come before you tonight seeking approval for the adoption of revisions to TASB policy update 126 local. Okay, BE explains board meetings. Board meetings must be held outside of typical work hours. Voting needs to be a record vote. The language has been adjusted, which requires board agendas to be posted 3 days rather than 72 hours. And I think we're doing that now. All right. BE local comes out of SB 12 and requires that public comment occur at the beginning of board meetings. CJ local requires that contractors may not engage in any assigned instructional activities prohibited, such as diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI. Violations will result in termination of contract. CJA local, contracted services, the name has been changed on that policy. CLE locals, building and grounds, the name has been changed there. CQB local, technology resources, cybersecurity. Revisions were recommended to comply with House Bill 150, which moves cybersecurity training from the Department of Information Resources to Texas Cyber Command. CQD local, technology resources, artificial intelligence. This new policy addresses artificial intelligence training requirements. In this policy, the board delegates the superintendent to determine the artificial intelligence training program to be used in the district, verify and report compliance with training requirements, remove access to the district's computer systems and databases for non-compliance with training requirements as appropriate. CSA local, facility standards, safety and security. SB 8 from the second special session prompted the inclusion of this section on designated use of private spaces. The superintendent is directed to designate private spaces in accordance with law and to develop regulations to ensure. So they go into a little bit of detail. They talk about single occupancy private spaces, which means a facility for use by one individual at a time, in which the individual may be in a state of undress. So an example would be like a stall for a restroom. CV local, construction, facilities construction, the competitive purchasing threshold has been moved from $50,000 to $100,000. DBD local, employment requirements and restriction, conflict of interest. Administrators shall not receive financial benefit for the performance of personal services. However, they can seek superintendent and board approval. Personal services might be an administrator trying to tutor. DEC local, and DEC local contract employees pay must be calculated by their annual salary divided by the number of contract days to obtain a daily rate, and which we do. Also, while a teacher is on family medical leave, teachers may choose not to use their paid leave concurrently with FML. DFBB local, term contracts, non-renewal. This is out of House Bill, Senate Bill 12. The board can recommend non-renewal of a term contract for engaging in or assigning diversity, equity, and inclusion duties, as well as instructional activities prohibited by law. This policy will be added to the list of reasons a term contract may be non-renewed. So DEI activities, I wanted to kind of cover a little bit of that. Influencing hiring or employment practices with respect to race, color, sex, promoting preferential or differential treatment by providing special benefits to individuals based on race, color, or ethnicity, and also developing and implementing policies, procedures, trainings, programs that reference race or color, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. DGBA local, complaints will be handled at the lowest level as much as possible. Even after initiating the formal complaint process, the employee is encouraged to seek an informal resolution for their concerns. Employees whose concerns are resolved may withdraw a formal complaint at any time. The appropriate hearing officer shall hold a hearing with the employee within 10 calendar days after receipt of a written complaint. The hearing officer may set reasonable time limits for the hearing. Level 1 complaints, the hearing officer shall provide an employee with a decision within 20 days. So As you can see, they pushed that time back from 10 to 20 days. DH local, employee standards of conduct. An employee shall be subject to disciplinary action, including termination of employment if the employee intentionally or knowingly engages in diversity, equity, inclusion duties, assigns another individual DEI duties. Also, employees shall be prohibited from assisting a district student with social transitioning. EPP local, the teacher shall provide a copy of any items such as a syllabus, TEKS, list of TEKS, topics covered, or scope and sequence to administration and parents when requested. And so it's a wide range. They were not very specific with what we needed to provide, but we could pretty much choose the above or whatever we could, as a district, would decide. The items should be posted on the district website for view to district stakeholders. EFA local. EFA discusses instructional materials review. This policy comes out of SB 12. A parent has the right to request a review of instructional materials if they believe they do not align with district adopted materials. The review may be requested for the following reasons. The material is not aligned with the district adopted materials, and materials do not have the appropriate rigor for the grade level. EHBAF, special education, deals with reporting incidents that have occurred. An employee must file a report within 24 hours of the fact giving rise to the allegation. The old requirement was 48 hours. That the reporting typically involves filing a report with CPS and reports to district administration. EIA local deals with grades and progress reports. The district shall issue grade report cards every 6 weeks on a form approved by the superintendent or designee. Interim progress reports shall be issued for students in grades 1 through 12 after the 3rd week of each grading period. And for conferences, the district shall provide at least 2 opportunities for in-person conferences between each parent and the student's teacher. Additionally, conferences may be requested by a parent, by a teacher or parent as needed. FA local requires the school district to establish a parent portal on the district website, and we do have that. It's called Let's Talk, so I think we might be familiar with that. FEF local, attendance release. A student shall be permitted, and this is developed around religious studies in consulting with TASB. A student shall be permitted to attend a release time in accordance with the following requirements. The parent or guardian has provided written consent. The private entity offering the release time course maintains attendance records. The private entity, parent or guardian, or student assumes responsibility for transportation, including transportation for a student with a disability to and from the location at which the course is offered. The private entity assumes liability for a student enrolled in a release time course. While the student is under private entity's care, the student is responsible for any schoolwork that's missed, and the district shall be prohibited from using district funds to facilitate student attending a release time course. FFAC local now allows school employees, including nurses, to administer non-prescription medication in accordance with legal requirements. FFE local is about crisis intervention, and this is out of HB 2, in addition, which addresses notification to teaching staff of a school threat. As soon as possible, an administrator or team receives information regarding a threat against the campus, including threats through social media. The appropriate administrator or team shall immediately notify the member of the teaching staff, which includes aides who may be directly affected by the threat, a statement containing the following information: the existence of the threat, the nature of the threat, and any pertinent details to ensure student and staff safety. FFF, local, student welfare and safety. Student safety and notifying the parents of a criminal offense. The district shall notify parent no later than 1 business day after the date of an employee first suspect that a criminal offense has been committed against the parent's child. FFG local, student welfare abuse and neglect, has mandated that suspected child abuse must be reported to an appropriate authority within 24 hours. FNG local discusses student and parent complaints. The student and parent timelines have changed. Student or parent has 90 calendar days to file a complaint from when they first heard of the incident. They have 30 days to file a complaint from when the district provided the information on how to file. The process will start at level 1 and be heard by an administrator who deals directly with the issue. However, a grievance can be resolved or withdrawn at any time. The process will matriculate through the appropriate levels, 1, 2, and 3, if needed. At the level 3, the board has 60 days to hear the complaint. The forms must be accessible on the district website. FO local states when a video and audio recording equipment is used, the district shall post signs notifying students and parents about the district's use of video and audio recording equipment. The students shall not be notified when the equipment is turned on. Filing deadlines, GF local public complaints, filing deadlines. If a member of the public has engaged in an informal process in an attempt to resolve the complaint with the district and then has not reached a resolution during the process, the individual must file a complaint within 15 business days. The complaint should be filed with the lowest level administrator who has the authority to remedy the alleged problem, and a district employee who has a complaint, whom a complaint has been filed, shall be provided notice of the complaint. The level 1, 10 calendar days to hear, 20 calendar days to respond. Level 2, 10 calendar days to hear, 20 calendar days to respond. The board and the board committee shall hold a meeting to discuss the complaint no later than 60 calendar days after the date on which the level 2 was made. The complainant may request that the complaint be heard in open or closed meeting. The district shall honor the request unless the Texas Meeting Open Act or other applicable law requires otherwise. Okay. GKA local. This weapons exception is for individual who holds a handgun license in accordance with SB 706. However, no violation of this policy occurs when an individual who holds a handgun license in accordance with state law stores the handgun or firearm in a locked vehicle in a parking lot, parking garage, or other parking area provided by the district, as long as the handgun or the other firearm is not in plain view, or the use, possession, or display of an otherwise prohibited weapon takes place as a part of a district-approved activity supervised by a proper authority. All right, and thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Gray. Any questions from the dais?
Madam President, I have a couple.
Mr. Smith?
Actually, I got quite a few lists, so it may be easier for me to email them. So in CQB, that's the policy on AI. That just simply says we should have a policy, right?
Yes, that does say we should have. So this is out of the law, but there are some requirements in some of these policies that will have more information or another policy that's written by the superintendent.
And that's what I was getting at. So
yeah, we would have, yeah.
EIA, it references an AI policy for the district, and we don't have one.
Well, these are new.
Okay. Right, I get that.
Yeah, these are new.
Another really quick one, EFA. That's the one on special education. What is the difference? And asking you because you're a little more familiar than I am. What is the difference between self-contained versus special education facility?
Self-contained is a unit where, you know, our special education students have certain numbers. You could be a 40, 41, or it could be lower. And so a self-contained is where the students are in one class, such as a PPCD class, and they get their services in one classroom. But that's not my line.
I know, Ms. Cromer.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cromer, thank you for coming up.
Good evening, board members, board president, Dr. Pereira. I'll just answer self-contained. He was very close to the correct answer. But it is a classroom set up just for students with disabilities, and so those students are in that classroom without other general education students receiving an alternative curriculum.
Okay, okay.
And Madam President, if you just add in there, that is the most restricted environment.
For that student, it's actually not the most restrictive environment.
For a SPED student.
For SPED students, it depends on what they need. So although it is very restrictive, it's least restrictive for those students. But those students do have severe disabilities, and so that's why it is the least restrictive environment for them.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that was the difference in the policy. They updated one to the other, and I don't remember which one it is now. I just wanted to make mention of that.
I sent you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. You go ahead.
I sent you the policy, the annotated, and you can take a look at those.
I will. That'll do. Again, I have a few others, but I do really need to review the annotated versions. Thank you both.
Madam President.
Ms. Morris?
Thank you. I just have one on the prescription medication. So I noticed this is
It said non-prescription.
non-prescription medication. So what about the prescription? Because it says on number 1, prescription medication in accordance with the legal requirements. But the legal requirements come from, can that code be referenced into this local policy?
Yes.
Because I'm talking about number 1 in the actual policy.
Okay.
That's attached.
What's the policy?
The policy is FFAC local. So I'm assuming that FFAC legal,
Yes.
from the legal part,
Yes.
is in here as well, but we just don't have it right
We
now.
don't- Yes, ma'am. That
Okay.
is correct.
All right.
So anytime the House, they actually met, the Senate, and we're adjusting, we're making these, I'm up here presenting because the legal has changed, and therefore our local policies have to change to comply with it. So you're correct. I can look it up.
And include it in our local, so whoever may have this, the parent will have a reference to go to, or individuals?
Yes, ma'am. All our board policies are open for review to parents and all our stakeholders.
Right. Thank you so much.
I want to make a minor correction. Earlier I cited EFA, and that was EHBAF. I didn't want to, in case somebody was reading the recording or whatnot.
Okay.
But thank you again.
All right, thank you. On the board members, please remember to get my attention prior to speaking. Thank you.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Okay. Any other questions?
I really have one,
Mr. Jones?
two.
Okay.
But one is on a BE local. It has a change from 6 days to 10 days. Is there any rationale for us doing that, for adding an item to the agenda? It's not on what you have here, but it's in the actual attachment.
Okay. Let's see here. This has pertained with board. Basically, I know we were at 72.
Actually, it's on the agenda deadline. It has, inclusion on the agenda is the 10th calendar day before the regular meeting, where we initially had it on as the 6th day. But we don't have, that's okay. We can address that at the next meeting.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Yeah.
I'll need time to take a look at that.
Okay.
I know the changes that I thought would.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Gray, we'll get his question and make sure we get it to you for you to
Okay.
get us some clarity on it.
No
Yes,
problem. And then the other question is pertaining to CJ and CV local. And it's really not pertaining to the policy change, but I know with the DEI, and I know we had put into policy before our last bond to ensure that we were utilizing historically underutilized businesses, so on and so forth. I just want to make sure that this doesn't conflict with the new DEI legislation that they're putting in place that will prohibit us from maximizing the use of hubs if we do move forward with the bond, but also ensuring that our citizens who have those types of businesses can participate in the bond, and we keep as many dollars within our community.
And that's why I wanted to, I looked up exactly what DEI was, and it says developing or implementing policies, procedures, activities, programs that reference race, color, ethnicity, or sexual. I don't think that we do that when that information goes out. However, I feel like that would be a question that we may have to address with the legal counsel just to be sure.
Yeah, I would definitely want to do, I agree with you there.
Yeah, it's promoting differential treatment, special benefits to individuals on basis of race, color, and ethnicity. I don't think when those RFPs go out that, they say that, so.
Yeah, so we may have to address CV local, because right now it specifically says that it shall be a continuing goal of the district to involve historically underutilized businesses and minority and women-owned business enterprises to the maximum extent possible. So we may have to adjust that in CV local to make sure that we're in compliance.
Yeah, we will, since they did change that law. We'll have to change that for sure. Dr. Pereira?
Yes, I was just going to reiterate what you just mentioned, that I interpret that as that we are no longer able to do that. But again, I'll let our legal eagle give that final determination going forward.
Any other questions, comments? Hey, thank you, Dr. Gray.
Madam President, I do have one quick comment, really quick.
Ms.
I promise
Smith?
this will be quick. The last one I have here is on QCB about cybersecurity. It says we'll adhere to laws. There are no laws in Texas for cybersecurity reporting.
Well,
at least there weren't any on the books in January.
Okay. I know we're working on that AI cybersecurity. I think Dr. Barker mentioned there's a group that is actually meeting, and we will be working with them to get some policies and some administrative guidance on that.
That is true.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to maintenance and operations. 7.1, child nutrition update. Dr. Pereira?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to call for Dr. Kimbrough to present that information to our board and our community. Dr. Kimbrough, the floor is yours, sir, when you're ready.
Good evening, Board President Hamilton, distinguished Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Pereira. I bring you our December child nutrition update. And we are looking at the month of November. We do have some preliminary data back. In November, you can see we had 13 serving days. We served approximately about 58,761 lunches. That number hasn't been reconciled, so it could go up and down, but that is our preliminary number. The reimbursement rate is $4.62. We pay SFE $4.31. So you can see we basically make 31 cents for each lunch that is served. You can look at our participation rates. We still have schools moving into the 80% of feeding, and we still working with the high school to get their numbers up. But these numbers pretty much maintain all year. If you see a dip in something, you have to be able to explain it. If you have Beltline go from 80% to 60%, and that probably have to look at the attendance there. But those numbers do hold all year. So just to keep you up to date with how many students that we're feeding, this is just based on lunch. So we can already start to predict revenue before we submit that claim. But we have to reconcile that number, which usually occurs next week. We work on it this week, and we'll submit the claim for November next week to TDA for reimbursement. One of our projects that we found in the cafeterias, we was holding on to a lot of old broken kitchen equipment. And the reason why we were holding on to it is because fixed assets, they're on the district's fixed assets list. They have to be deleted off. So we did put in a process for deleting, like that warmer doesn't work, deleting those things off our fixed assets. And they won't go to waste. We'll put them with the scrap iron in back of M&O when we sell that. So we do get a little money for this broken equipment. But we do have a fund balance, and we do want to upgrade our cafeterias with new equipment other ovens and warmers, things that work in there. And that is all I have, my presentation for child nutrition.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is 7.2, Lancaster ISD Facility Needs Timeline. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to call back to the podium Dr. Kimbrough, and he'll be joined. Oh, we already did that. I'm sorry. We both, that was time to
No,
close.
you're absolutely right. Look, I'm trying to add stuff, excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, Dr. Pereira, is there a need for closed session for tonight? We have a few adjustments. I'll just tell the board. 8.2, that item will be moved to the regular board meeting on December the 18th. And also 8.6, the review of our LSU quarterly tracker and next steps. We'll move that to the regular board meeting also. So did you have anything that you needed? 8.6? We're not gonna do it. Okay. Okay, so there's no need for closed session tonight. We'll move to board matters. 10.1 is review of the Lone Star Governance Board time use tracker for November 20th, 2025. Ms. Allen, if you'll review that for us.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, distinguished board, Dr. Pereira, you'll be pleased in regards to the report that you have this evening. In regards to the Thursday, November 20th board meeting, in regards to the tracker, you have 52% in regards to student outcome. You'll be pleased to know that you have 0 in regards to any adult behavior. As a matter of fact, for the student outcome and adult behavior is 52%, and student outcome alone is 52% as well. You also will be pleased that you have, in regards to that meeting, 100% attendance. You were able to meet your goals in regards to the consent agenda, which was 100%, and then also the goals related to that was on the board agenda in regards to goal 1, 3, and 4 was 100% as well. In regards to that board meeting on November the 20th, 2025, in regards to GPMs, the report on behalf of Dr. Francois was not presented during that time, but again, if you take the opportunity to look at this report, I know that you'll be very pleased in regards to the results.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, sounds like we're improving, so I'm glad to hear that information. Okay, we have some reminders for the board. On the board matters, we have NABSE 53rd Annual Convention, Chicago, Illinois, December 10th through the 14th. TASB 41st Annual Conference, Irving, February 18th through the 22nd of 2026. TASB Governance Camp, Galveston, Texas, March 4th through the 7th, 2026. TCB SBM 2026 Education Summit, April 15th through 18th, 2026. And for those dates, are any board members anticipating attending that summit? Because the district is trying to plan our state of the district, and we're trying to do a date for that.
For the summit?
For the summit, that's April 15th through the 18th.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones, anyone else attending or planning to attend?
It's going to be in Austin at the Cambria Hotel.
Do we need to let you know, Madam President? Or let whoever.
If you'll just let Dr. Pereira know, just because they're trying to plan a date for their state of the schools. Okay. And also, just to add as a side note, you all, we will be doing Dr. Pereira's eval, so I'll make sure I send out the tool to you all, and I'm going to ask that you all return it back by the 15th, because I know some people will be traveling next week, so that'll give you over a week to have that completed. But I'll send out an email with that information. Just wanted to give you all a heads up on that. We have come to adjournment. Anyone in favor of adjourning?
Madam President, before we fully adjourn,
Mr. Jones.
I did submit something in the portal regarding governance camp, the call for proposals. There's a link there, I believe it's due January 9th, if anybody wants to submit a presentation. They also have a component for student voices as well. If our students want to present, there's an opportunity for them to present there as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay.
One more thing.
Ms. Morris.
Can I just verify that to make sure that it was a clear understanding? I think I got it, but the call for the bond has to be done by February 13th, 5 p.m.? The cutoff date?
Yes.
On the 11th? Okay. I just wanted to make sure on that date.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. The time is 7:04 p.m.